give everybody a couple of minutes to join and get settled in, and then we'll get started. So like around 6:03. Okay, welcome everyone. It's 6:03. We'll go ahead and get started. I am so happy to be with you tonight. My name is Whitney Thomas. I'm a National Development Manager for Ignite. And as you likely know, Ignite is a national nonpartisan organization that is building political ambition in young women. We have programs across the nation, high school, college. We even now have some K-8 programming. And we have a very awesome fellowship that you should check out if you're interested, that places really cool women all across the United States to build political ambition in college women. We do webinars, and tonight we're doing one, part 2, in conjunction with ActBlue. So Tess is here to present about digital fundraising, part 2. And I think this is really critical, right? Because you can't run a campaign without knowing how to raise funds. And that's one of the things that I always hear women talking about, like they're nervous about fundraising. And so I'm so glad that we have this ability to share this info with you. Tess is with ActBlue. She got started with state and local candidates to help them develop strong fundraising programs and access the resources that they needed to win. She was working on Democratic campaigns at the Senate and gubernatorial levels before moving over to ActBlue, and to specialize in small dollar donors at all levels. So with that, I will let Tess take it away, and I can't wait to hear what you've got to share with us. Tess, I think you're muted, Tess.
Sorry, I realized I have the presentation from one-on-one, so I just wanted to make sure I have the correct one up. It'll take 1 second. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So I'll just encourage everyone to be interactive in our chat box. I know Tess has a couple of activities planned where you can actually engage during this webinar. So if she asks any questions or anything like that, post your responses or other questions you have over here in this chat box. And I know I heard that she was open to questions last time. So if anything comes across your mind, just post it over here and we'll keep an eye on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. So as Whitney said, my name is Tess and I work for ActBlue. For those of you who weren't here last week, ActBlue is a tech nonprofit and we build the fundraising software for Democratic candidates and committees, as well as other progressive organizations. So we have a really cool view into what people are doing in the world of fundraising, because we're helping candidates to build out their digital fundraising programs. So last week we got to discuss a little bit how important it is to run a digital fundraising program. And in that program, how important it is to respond to your moment and to ensure that you are like using what's happening in the news and what people are thinking and talking about to galvanize those fundraising moments and to make some asks. So I don't know if anyone was able to, I'd love if you could chime in the chat if you were reading through news within your communities or seeing what important stories there were. That really might have been a good way to start out an email or a fundraising ask. So I'll give you all a second to think about that. And I actually thought of one in my own community. I'm up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And as you may or may not know, last week in Boston was our Boston Marathon. And it was also the 5-year anniversary of an unfortunate event, the bombing at the Boston Marathon. But I think that, that event was really important to a lot of people. It was important to bring the community together. So I did see some fundraising emails from both organizations in my area that were using the marathon as a fundraising tactic, and candidates talking about how strong it made our city, and how they want to use that fundraising to continue to build on that, all the good parts of that moment. So that was something that I saw within my own community. I don't know if anyone else has something that they'd like to add that they saw in theirs. If not, it's totally fine. We can continue. All right, looks like I have. Just give you all a moment. It looks like Whitney is typing. Yeah, and Shannon said, not in Dallas exactly, but the church burnings have definitely hit like home. I think that's something that's so true in so many communities, especially in Louisiana, but in African-American and Christian communities across the country. I think those church burnings is something that's incredibly touching and important to people. It's upsetting, it's terrifying, and it's definitely angering. And so that's something I think the right organization, let's say the Southern Poverty Law Center, definitely was likely using to galvanize fundraising, so they can help combat events like that in the future by talking about what happened in the past. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a really great one. Yeah, Sheba says police brutality and rent control, very much the same. Those are issues that I think touch on the day-to-day of so many people who doesn't have trouble paying their rent. And in communities where people, have to especially fear the police, that's a really important thing to bring up. That's a great idea as well. Especially if there's a specific event that occurs within your community. I think like a mass eviction, if you're talking about rent control, that's something that you can really touch on. And someone might be directly affected. Odds are their family, their friends are affected. So all really great ideas. I want to say thank you, everyone, for participating. Oh, one last one. Whitney said, I've seen a lot of pushback to the enormous fundraising that's happening because of Notre Dame. And people are using it to raise awareness for their causes. That's such a great idea, and that's really true. And I think that's one of the cooler things that we've seen. One reporter specifically was using it to say, like, if the Notre Dame church burning can gain $400 million, these specific events should be able to earn us this much. And he actually used social media to promote that message as well, which is something I'm going to get into later. So these are all really great examples. And thanks again for participating and thinking that through. So today we're going to pivot a little bit, but it's still very much in the same vein. And we're going to talk about how we can use online platforms to build coalitions and empower small dollar donors, especially in response to some events like the ones we've seen. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do this, both for our own campaigns and organizations, and for campaigns and organizations that we'd like to support and that we care about. So some of this is a little ActBlue specific, but it's also something that can be used anywhere and something that's really relevant. To dial back a bit, ActBlue offers something called community forums, which essentially means that anyone who wants to, can develop a form or URL with the organizations they care about as beneficiaries or the candidates they care about. So this allows, let's say if I'm an activist and I have 3 candidates I've endorsed running in 3 major cities across the country, I can fundraise for all of them at once. And I can shoot around that link on social media or to my friends and family and promote it that way. So on your right, you see Chris Murphy, a U.S. Senator from the state of Connecticut, has a community forum. And it benefits specifically all gun control nonprofits because that is one of his major issues. So on there, you have Everytown, Givers Back, Brady Campaign. And those are all major organizations working to promote gun control legislation. So these are things that he feels passionate about. And it's actually a really cool thing that he's doing. In lieu of fundraising for his own self, he has sent out multiple emails and posted on social media requesting that people in his network of supporters support the issues that he cares most about. So the way community forums work and what's so cool about this form of grassroots fundraising is that it's really a way to crowdsource that fundraising. It's primarily done by word of mouth, whether that be digitally or actually speaking to someone and actually sending them a direct email. It's also supporter driven. So instead of being driven by the people up top, although in this case, Chris Murphy is acting as a supporter, a lot of candidates will have 100 different smaller, let's say college students, who decide that they really care and they're going to get all their friends to donate $5. So it's definitely not a way of saying let's get all max out donations of $2,600 to these federal campaigns, but instead I think an idea that we all have our own networks that we can tap into and our own people who care but just might not be phoned into these particular issues and candidates and organizations. And it's a really cool way that people can reach out and get involved in this giving in this specific way. Another really great time that we've seen these forums come into use is in response to certain natural disasters or, incidents, specifically after the hurricanes last season in Puerto Rico. We were able to circulate these really great community forums that listed various organizations. Besides just the American Red Cross, it was seen that they were getting a lot of money and maybe weren't budgeting the best way at that particular time. So instead, our team found organizations on the ground like the San Juan Diaper Bank and food shelters that were doing great work, but maybe didn't have the same kind of megaphone. And they were able to circulate these forums in a wider way. So people could easily and efficiently give to the groups that were most impacting the work in immediate response. Another great way these forums can be used is actually by college and high school groups. If you think about it, I think college college party groups, whether that's Republican or Democrat, are often advocating for candidates and fundraising on their behalf, kind of from the outside. So these forums aren't about the chief of staff or the campaign manager, but they're about the people on the outside who may not be involved in the day-to-day decision making, but they still want to promote the great ideas that they're seeing. They want to fundraise on its behalf and make sure that the small dollar donors have access to that giving as well. More specifically, and this is a little more catered towards ActBlue, but we have a feature called Tandem Fundraising as well, which allows us to list multiple candidates on the same form, which is a really awesome idea if you think about it, because we can have candidates running at state legislative levels, at federal levels, all tied together because they're using each other's networks to fundraise more actively. Some great ways that I'd love for Ignite alum especially to think about using this and tools like this is that in the future, if you are in one of these great training sessions and you meet another young woman and you both are just so smart and so passionate about similar issues, but you're running in different races or in different states even, you think moving forward, I don't see how we're ever going to work together and how we can support each other's campaigns because we're both running at the same time. We're so busy. This is a great way to do it. You can tie together and help each other fundraise, use each other's email list, use each other's networks to boost each other up. The way we like to think about it is that your community is your kitchen cabinet. So kitchen cabinets is a common idea in kind of the old school way of fundraising where you pick 5 wealthy friends from 5 different parts of your life, and you have those 5 people fundraise on your behalf because they probably have other rich friends that you don't know, and by the end you get a lot of money. We like to think of it as everyone in your community, your neighbors, the people you work with, the people you volunteer with. That is your kitchen cabinet, and those are the people who should be advocating on your and fundraising on your behalf, because those are the people who are most impacted by the issues that you care about. So I really want us all to think about fundraising more as a way to get people to invest in your campaign, and more for your community to have a voice in your campaign and be an active part of it, than fundraising to just be a way to take the money and throw it in your pocket. Although it's that as well. I totally understand campaigns cost money. But I think especially in this past cycle, digital fundraising and small dollar donors have proven to be a really strong force that can have a great impact. And it's not necessary to be a millionaire to run for office anymore, which is really cool. So I'm going to stop here for some questions before we get into the social media part. Feel free to type away if you have anything. If not, we can carry on. All right. We feel pretty good about it? Great. All right. So I'm sure we're all very familiar with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And I'm guessing everyone here is way better than me at it because I don't have any of those platforms anymore. So you should probably be leading this part of the session. But as you know, when you're scrolling through Facebook or Twitter, I'm sure you've seen 1,000,001 asks for different donations, asks for a birthday fundraiser to get involved. And I want us all to stop and think about for a second, what makes us stop and look at a post. So when you're scrolling, there's hundreds of things. What makes you stop and look? Anyone? Shannon, that's a great question. So Shannon asked, how would you recommend fundraising via social media when your network doesn't share your political or social values? And I'll get into that in 1 second. First, we're just going to talk real quick about how to design the ask, and then I'll dig into that. Shannon also said, great, when it's something relevant to her community, when it's clear language, Whitney said. So these are all really great points. If you see this one on the right, this is Mark Kelly running for Senate in Arizona. And it's a really cool picture, I think. And it says, no corporate PACs, just people like you. Feels like it's speaking directly to you. Whitney, I hope you agree. It's pretty clear language. And it's a nice picture. So definitely something that might want to make someone stop and click. And doing something relevant to you, doing something relevant to your community is super crucial. And that's why Facebook actually allows you to target ads. I know this is has its pros and cons, but it does allow you to target specifically if you're not just sharing it from your own account and instead you're buying an ad to try and get the word out, which is something you might be doing if you're running your own campaign. You can target it towards, let's say, people aged 20 to 30 in a certain region that are on this side of the spectrum or this side of the spectrum. So instead of just thinking in terms of, well, what I'm posting from my personal account, when you're running for office or running a major fundraising campaign, start thinking about it in terms of what pages can you be posting on and how might you be able to fundraise for Facebook ads, which are actually relatively inexpensive. It's probably around $50 to $100 for literally thousands of eyeballs on an ad. So it's useful to start thinking about how you can leverage your network, not just your personal network, but what professional sites you know of, what other pages, who else is in your network that can help you to spread that message, and how to promote those ads. So Shannon, I hope that answers your question a little bit. But it definitely might require thinking outside the box a little bit. All right. So now we're gonna get a little creative. And I'd love if we all take 5 minutes to think about what our ad might look like. So that includes what exactly your ask is going to be. So as I said, no corporate PACs, just people like you is what Mark Kelly went with. who exactly you're trying to target. So I know we're not familiar entirely with what the demographic options of Facebook are, but try and think of in your mind who would be most responsive. And this can be for your hypothetical campaign, your hypothetical organization, whatever you'd like, whatever you feel passionate about. And if you want to think about what kind of cool picture you might want to use, totally fine as well. I have some examples on this page. If you want to get some ideas, this is Kamala Harris, for Free Black Moms, a great organization, a tweet from them. Everytown for gun safety, great graphic from them, and Kirsten Gillibrand. So these are all some different examples that you might want to think about. But feel free to, do it in reference to whatever kind of organization or campaign you want, and throw out the ideas as they come. Okay. Whitney, awesome. I think candid photos in the field are far more compelling. I'd want someone that showed people with my t-shirts on holding signs, something similar to the Brave Winds. I totally agree. That's really a great point. I like that too. I think it gives you proof that people actually like you, not that someone wouldn't believe it. But it allows people to see that you actually have crowds and supporters. And I think the energy in a lot of those pictures really shines through naturally, as opposed to kind of these simpler graphics that other people did. So I totally agree. I like that too. Is there something else, if we wanted to think more generally, what we do or don't like about the examples up on the screen? I personally really like give $20 to help bail a mama out to see her family for Mother's Day. Not only is it touching on, as we talked about, a moment, kind of that holiday coming up. I think it's a very emotional and evocative thing. It also uses kind of that quick little mama, and I think in the right context, things like that can feel far more personal to people. And really, I mean, it makes me want to donate. Feels like really emotional. So it's I think, a good ask. Anyone else have something we like or don't like? Don't like is fine too. No one's going to be personally offended. Yeah, awesome, Whitney. I kind of agree. Scroll right past the gray, even though it's a really good cause. You want something that stands out, and I think that's where Kirsten Gillibrand has a better idea. That like bright pink brave really makes you stop and look. Whereas like kind of a gray and a lot of graphic makes it harder to read through. Even though it is a great message and a great organization, it is a little dull and hard to focus on. And Shiva agrees. Pictures of real nice people, which I agree. I like that too. For your own ask, what are you thinking about saying? Is there something that you think in your own language would be a powerful response to ask people to donate in small words? Short words? Sorry. No. I do want to know, last week we did talk a little bit about making a hard ask and using strong language. So things like chip in today and give $20 instead of asking for a donation. It's a direct ask saying donate now and we need your money, which can make a huge difference, I think, especially on social media where no one's going to respond to a short ask. It's really those hard asks and those deliberate commands that are going to make people stop and think and stop and whip out their wallet. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. And hopefully these are cool as you're going forward to think about where you might want to kick off your own social media presence for your campaign. It's always helpful to ask for those donations. And hopefully these are some nice ideas, make you think about what you would want your voice personally to look like as well. Any other questions I can answer? Thank you so much for being such a great audience today.
So we have about 3 minutes left. If you have any questions that you would like answered, Tess is a wealth of knowledge. So any questions you have about fundraising, or maybe some that you didn't get answered in the last session, you could add to the chat box. I think we can stick around a couple more minutes.
Yeah, Whitney, that's a great question. How common is it for school board and city council candidates to hire fundraising professionals? So it definitely depends, obviously, on the city council or school board race. If you're talking about New York City, yeah, all of them definitely do. But most of the time on local campaigns, what we see is that someone has a designated volunteer as their fundraising chair, or maybe even more than one volunteer. But it's obviously a lot of money to have someone on your staff. So usually we find that someone will have like a campaign manager and maybe a treasurer who take on some of those duties as well as volunteer staff. But it does depend on the entire budget of your campaign, of course, and that's definitely something to consider when you're building out your team. That being said, fundraising is one of the major components to make sure you can go forward. So it's worth having really dedicated volunteers if that's the route you choose to go. And Shiva, yeah, I can definitely send around the presentation after. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I know it can be a little intimidating to have to type it in, but I'm more than happy to answer anything whenever you come up with it. Or if you declare and file for office, I'd love to hear.
And Sheba, thank you, Tess, for sending that around. Sheba, we, just as a practice, Ignite always posts videos of our webinars, usually within about like 24 to 48 hours. You can find the link to all of those on our website, and they're uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Sheba, another question. Where's the best place to have a fundraiser? Again, if you're looking at a smaller campaign, the best place to have a fundraiser is the absolute cheapest place to have a fundraiser. You want to keep overhead as low as possible. You don't want to ever be in a situation where you're running out your budget and you're spending more than like 10 or 20% than you expect to make from a fundraiser on just the overhead of it. So if you can have friends that can host a house party, you can do a barbecue or nice cocktails or coffee instead of renting out an event venue. That's absolutely the best way to do it. Definitely never ever spend more money than you need to on a space. Even if you're talking about like a bigger presidential campaign, you'll notice that it takes a ton of work to put into preparing those large event venues. So it's best to keep things as inexpensive as humanly possible. Community centers, low rent, low overhead, and the more prepared it can be, the more things you can get donated, the better. If that makes sense.
Well, thank you, Tess. This has been great. Sheba, good luck with your run for Council District 9 in New York. Check out our programming that we have in New York. We have a pretty robust New York City presence, and we have trainings all the time. So we're having a boards and commissions boot camp this Saturday at Columbia. So definitely plug into Ignite's network in New York. We would definitely love to help you with your race. Again, great, you're going to be there. Awesome. So thank you to Tess and to ActBlue, and we will definitely be in touch. But thank you for spending part of your Wednesday night with us. I hope that you have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, and best of luck, Sheba.
Bye-bye.